Debt-ridden Sri Lanka's inflation has hit a record high. For the sixth consecutive month, the official data on rising inflation has now raised concerns as the Sri Lankan government has asked the International Monetary Fund for an urgent bailout. In March, Sri Lanka's National Consumer Price Index rose 21.5% year-on-year. This is more than 4 times the 5.1% inflation of a year earlier. Food inflation in March stood at 29.5%. These figures are likely to rise further. Since the start of the year, petrol prices have increased by 90%, while diesel, which is commonly used for public transport, has gone up by 138%. Sri Lanka is now on the brink of bankruptcy. The country's foreign exchange shortage has led to a slowing down of imports, including essentials. Shops have had to rush on the quantity of rice, milk, powder, sugar, lentils, and other essentials. Sri Lanka's economy has collapsed since the onset of the pandemic, due to which the tourism revenue took a nosedive as well, and so did the foreign worker remittances. The government has announced a default on its foreign debt. Foreign exchange reserves have been diverted to finance essential food and medicines costs. Meanwhile, the crisis has forced four of the biggest and most prominent companies in Sri Lanka to call for immediate actions to solve the economic crisis. These companies are leading FMCG and pharma brand Hemis, the leading network provider Dialog, supermarket and hotel chain John Keel's, and Sri Lanka's biggest apparel manufacturers Mars. All four have now highlighted the present crisis and sent out a message that an immediate change is needed while safeguarding the rights of the people. This week, Sri Lanka asked the IMF for emergency assistance, but was told that the South Asian nation's $51 billion external debt was unsustainable and it must be restructured before any help was sought. Sri Lankans have endured months of shortages and the crippling shortages of essentials. They are forced to line up for hours to buy the limited stocks available for basics such as food, cooking gas, fuel and medicine. Protesters have been taking to the streets across Sri Lanka every day since March. On Thursday as well, demonstrations continued over the country's worst economic crisis in decades. Crowds of people marched through the capital, Colombo, waving flags and banners aloft. Hundreds of Buddhist monks also joined these protests. The monks met with protesters who have occupied the entrance to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's office for nearly 2 weeks now. They are demanding his resignation over this crisis. On Tuesday, the police clashed with protesters in central Sri Lanka, killing one of them and wounding nearly 30. At least 8 people have also died, waiting in long lines for fuel in the past 6 weeks. And for more on the ongoing crisis in Sri Lanka, our correspondent Dasuni Athora gets us the latest from Colombo. Take a look.
Amid Sri Lanka's worsening economic crisis, some of Sri Lanka's biggest brands and biggest corporates issued statements as of recent days, siding with the people and their voices, and to clearly state that these companies and brands will be taking the side of the people and will be listening to the struggles that these people have been mentioning and demanding, as well as protesting for the past few weeks here in Sri Lanka. Now, this is an unprecedented move, as all these brands are the pioneers of what they do here in the country and have largely remained neutral and apolitical for over decades, which only signals how dire the situation here is in Sri Lanka, where large companies are now coming forward to make their stance and make sure that their intentions are heard by the people as well as those governing, and to purely listen to the voices of the people that have been demanding for President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and the Rajapaksa-led government to simply step down. Reporting from Colombo, I'm Dasuni Athora.
WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.